I was absolutely furious to see non-stop reports about J.K. Rowling, and everything was about the controversial comments about trans people. I don't believe she's ever said anything controversial about trans people. I think she's only ever stood up for the rights of women and the safety of women, and yet this is what people will talk about.
Absolutely. What she said is what most people think in the country. It's compassionate. She's talked about women's rights, girls' rights, and she's talked about young people rushing into transition and whether that's a good thing. I think these are things that everyone needs to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we needed to be talking about it a lot sooner to save more of those young lives and young bodies being mutilated. But again, she's been under attack for just, a tweet when there was some tweet about something about people who menstruate, and she was going, "Oh, didn't we used to have a word for people who menstruate? Woman, whammy, what?" I mean, it was the most uncontroversial tweet ever, and it has earned her this huge amount of hate, rape threats, death threats. I mean, absolutely outrageous venom that's been directed towards her. And whenever I defend her online, people will say, she's a transphobe, and so are you. They always call me a transphobe as well. And I was like, find me a single quote, find me any evidence on video and camera, anything private or public that either J.K. Rowling or indeed you or anyone else who's campaigning on this or me has ever said that's transphobic. And they never seem to produce any evidence, and yet they carry on with these allegations.
I mean, what she has said is she's disagreed with the ideology that trans women are women, that any man who says he's a woman is a woman. That's fundamentally what she's disagreed with, and that's what's called transphobic. And you can say that in the most careful, most polite, most compassionate way, concerned about the health and the well-being of everybody, and that will still be called transphobic. She wrote not only tweets, she wrote that essay, and so many people have said to me, she's transphobic. And I say, have you read the essay? And they say no.
Yes.
They just won't read it.
Yeah, exactly. Give us any evidence. I would really like her to start suing people. I would really like this multi-million and say it's all going to go to charities for women's refuges or whatever. But start actually suing people for. I don't think you should go around. I'm in favour of free speech, but you don't get to go around making up lies about people. It's fascinating. Yesterday, a Sky News reporter interviewing one of the many young actors that she made a star by putting them in her Harry Potter franchise, Tom Felton in this case. She was being asked questions and asked about J.K. Rowling, and the publicist immediately said, "Next question, please." And he just sat in silence. We've got Emma Watson and others refusing to even acknowledge they won't appear in reunions if J.K. Rowling is there. I mean, these are, frankly, young upstarts. Most of them, Daniel Radcliffe, I accept, is a good actor. Emma Watson, her entire career is based on the fact that she was in Harry Potter. And these young upstarts who she made stars, turning their back on J.K. Rowling, they met her, they know her. They must know that she is not transphobic, she's not a bad person, and yet they're turning their back on her. What do you make of that?
I think they're trying to protect their careers. I think it must be heartbreaking for her to have these individuals that she knows turning against her. But we see this across, every industry, every company, that if somebody is called a transphobe, their colleagues will turn against them because they want to save their own skin.
Well, you had it
Rowling,
when you went to an employment trouble. You had to do it, didn't you?
Absolutely, and people are just frightened of saying that the common sense thing is not transphobic, and so she's being airbrushed out. It's like Stalin. It's
terrifying, and the airbrushing continues as well. Julie Bindel, colleague of yours, Sex Matters and feminist writer, she is planning to take legal action against the Nottingham City Council after on Saturday she was due to speak at Apsley Library. The event was called off the day before. She was banned from speaking, but basically because of her views on this issue. Again, talk on women's safety. Women's ability and right to be in safe spaces where men are not allowed, and trans women with men's bodies are still a threat to women. That is the reality for women. We know this in prisons, in refuges and elsewhere. It's about time that women like Julie Bindel and others, and you went to a tribunal, that people started hitting back and standing back and making life difficult for the people who are trying to shut us down.
Absolutely. I mean, Julie's talk was not even going to be about trans issues at all. It was completely about women's rights and about violence against women. It was a private booking at the library, and the library got some complaints saying she's a transphobe, that terrible word, and they cancelled it the night before the event was supposed to go ahead, she had to do it in the car park.
It is absolutely extraordinary. We're going to talk more about this, actually, with Lawrence Fox of the Reclaim Party a little bit later.